One and. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Twitch chat. Welcome back to Let Us Play. I'm your host, Father Evan. It's good to be back with y'all. Good to see you, Bob the Buildus, Bad Roxy, Brayherd Lord, Kitty C, Step Zero, Beer Fox. Good to see y'all, and Bob the Buildus. Congratulations, you have won today's crown of Firstendom. And I suppose it's fitting because you are. Hey, Dino Smash, good to see you. You are the Buildest in today's Minecraft. So it is the Buildest crown that you have claimed, most appropriate. I was also thinking, I guess, if there's a Bob the Buildest, as is the superlative form of Bob the Builder, does that imply the existence of Bob the Build? But I see, Roxy, you are upset. Kit, you've claimed forced. Beer Fox, furred. And you know what? I think you're all jockeying for first. Almost like a chicken jockey. He said the thing! Anyway, I'm in a bit of a mood today. Never realized it, but there must be a Bob the Build. Exactly! This is how things work. Build, builder, buildest. We're all number one in your heart. Well, we are number one. And now the ska tune is in my head. Yeah, no, I'm apparently in a bit of a mood. I had caffeine. Maybe that's my problem. Anyway, we're going to be continuing in Minecraft. It's not going to be an exciting day, but a necessary day. Because we have to do some inventory management. So let's dive on in. So I've prepared this space for us. Behold, the room. Hope we're not number one in Father Evan's heart. Aw, no you are. It's just Jesus is closer. He's like, can't be zeroth in my heart, but he's like 0.1. Anyway, so yeah, this gives you a sense of where we are up this mountainside. Relative to that. You can't see it because of render distance, but you can see the graveyard, so that's where the cathedral is. Yeah, so we have to start moving things. I did a few things to prepare for this. Time for schlepping. We are indeed schlepping. So what I did is, first and foremost, I made some chests. I also made some skulker chests. And I made 2 ender chests. And the other ender chest is currently back at the original base. Because it's too far to use as the original base anymore. Double entry bookkeeping. Yeah, you know, but it's the double entry bookkeeping that enables you to be ready and set up to do builds like this. You know, if I didn't have any organization, I'd never be able to do those. What are ender and shulker chests? Great question. Next question. No, so an ender chest is basically whatever is in the content of your ender chest. No matter where in the world you open an ender chest, there will be an ender chest. And then shulker boxes are the only kind of chest you can put inside another chest. So you can pull one out, and you can fill it up, and then you can break it down. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill up this ender chest using these to move everything. But first, we need to do some work. So how I'm going to design this is... Oh, not like that. This feels like the sort of thing that used to be a mod. It probably was at some point. Nope. Where will the new base be? The cave here is the new base, and it's right outside the east side of the Opera House. Because, like, I'm doing all my building in here because I want all these buildings to be close, so it feels kind of like a city. Anyway, so that's how we're going to do the storage. And then we will put a sign indicating what it is. Now, the good news is this doesn't have to be particularly aesthetic. If you put a shulker box in a shulker box, it becomes shulkerception. Wah. So we'll start with one that will just be like, we'll have a stone area, and then we can have a metals area, or a woods area, and then a metals area. And then as this grows, I'll manage some of this off screen, but I want to start this on screen. The wrong button. Ow! Right, I don't have my Elytra equipped. It's like, why am I not flying? Matrushka Shulker. Whoosh. Oh, we're gonna have to figure out a way to move Orange over to the new base. We can't abandon Orange here. I'm gonna still use this as my main mines, but... We gotta bring Orange over. Maybe Orange can go to the house. Anyway, you can see I have a couple other... I have 3 shulker boxes here as well. Yes, we have to take Orange and his pumpkin. We'll figure that out. Oh, also, another thing you can do with shulker boxes. You can hang them on any wall. Nathaniel, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Hope you have a good time. So let's just start with any generic stone. I'm not going to necessarily completely organize these today, but... making a shulker full of shulkers is a big brain move. Yeah, it is. You can also dye your shulkers to make it easier to identify, so if you're on, like, a build. So it's really nice that I have them now. Does shulker and shulker have less spots? No. I think once it's in the shulker, it's in the shulker. Although I don't know if you can put a shulker. Here, I forget. Yeah, you can't put a shulker in another shulker. They don't let you cheese it that much, but this is why you can take an ender chest with you, and you can fill that with shulker chests. Robbery, I know. 0 out of 10 game, gonna refund. Okay, so that's all of that. So we'll take some of that stuff. Oh, I still have a empty shulker chest. That's nice. Let's start filling that maybe with nether stuff. So what should our next build be, chat? What should I make? I have some ideas, but I'd also like to hear yours. A crypt. Well, I feel like I've already done that, though, considering what I have in the mausoleum at the churchyard. With traps. I know how to do that. A Roman-style bath. Ooh. That's an interesting idea. What's that? There we go. Actually need that pickaxe. So see, now I can break these. All the items inside are fine. The Chicago bean. That would require a lot of iron. I don't know if I have that much iron. Bean. Shinto shrine. The bean, it mesmerizes. If we can paint the bean with ultra pink. Is that the shade of pink of Ultraman? And again, the exact organization of this I'm going to manage later, but because there are ways that you can arrange it so it's a little easier to find what you're looking for and whatnot. But for today, I just want to have the goal of move out of the old base, move out of the temporary space of the underneath the opera house. Put the wood or the nether stuff over here. It's the pinkest pink. Okay. Can I put orange in a box? No, I cannot put orange in a box, unfortunately. I also need to find a name tag for him so I can just properly name him Orange. Now we have name tags at the automated fishing place. So anything that's like ground, dirt, brick related, I just want to grab for now. I forgot to empty that. I thought I'd emptied all of these. Oops, my bad. That's okay, we can make one with tools and metals and things. So we have plenty of that here. Quartz, quartz, quartz. Concrete. That's metals. Let's take all this glass. The dye with the glass for now, because we'll just have like a miscellany. Diamond's gonna go on the tools one. Metal, 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 metal. full are these? I'm gonna move all of this in with this, because then we can do one that's wood. Wood. See, and this will be nice, because then this will tell me how many saplings of different kinds I have, rather than like looking around for them and not finding them. Should have another one here. Yes, but that's full. According to the web, your best bets for moving orange are either a leash or a minecart. Yeah. Yeah, no, the thought of leading orange that far with just a fish is outrageous. I will leave the concrete concretizer down here. Glass arboretum with waterfalls. Oh no! Oh, that was a mistake. Oh well. I do have a Kingdom Hearts build. Do I have a Zelda build? A planetarium. Do like a planetarium with like an orrery in it? On my old build, I did have a like a large telescope. Yeah, what would I build from Zelda? There's so many options. Like that's not a like, it's hard to find something. It's like, no, it's quite the opposite. Okay, so that's woods. That's metals. That's nether. That's nether. Yep. Let's build a tools storage area here. I'm gonna put miscellany here for now. Tools. Metal and metal adjacent things. And again, this is temporary. I do hope to come back in my free time. Ha! Actually, I spent a lot of free time in Minecraft. Who am I? What am I saying? I am going to put the quartz in the nether chest area because that's where it comes from. Metal adjacent magnets? I have no idea how they work. Vacuum. Can have a glass chest here. Where was miscellany? So we're gonna put dyes in there. Wood and tree things. Wood. It's fairly miscellaneous. Miscellaneous. Could build a hospital. That would be very traditional. I'm not saying no. I just don't understand how a hospital is traditional. Or are you? Oh, because you're saying like being Catholic, building a hospital. Yes. Coal and metal all goes in the metal box. Yes, no, I figured it out. Just, it took me a moment. We'll throw that in miscellany even though it's nether, but that's okay. Metal, coal, metal. I think that's everything from down here. It is. Rotata. I did look at the readings, I promise. I just don't remember. So I'm pulling it up. I know it's not a saint or anything today. I mean, there is a saint today. There always is. There's so many of them. But there are not any optional or obligatory memorials. Probably just saying knock it off be good. I mean, usually has a little more nuance than that. Oh yes, ravenous wolves in sheep's clothing. Rotten fruit can't bear. Rotten tree can't bear good fruit. You know, classic warnings like that. And you know, I think some of them are obvious, and we know that, and we see that. But also, we can fall prey to such things. But ultimately, there's a sense, if something seems bad and off, odds are it probably is. Okay, we'll put those over there. Hey, Neko. Doing fine yourself? Let's put the jukebox over here with everything else too. Put a record in it. Pretty good. Yeah, but otherwise not bad. Well, you know, sometimes being tired's not it comes from just a good place to haven't been productive. So I hope it's that kind of tired. Yeah, doing fine. I go, hey, you take care, Dino Smash. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We've made the mistake of researching AV receivers and speakers. Oh no! How many adverts are you getting? No, but now I want to upgrade the 11-year-old. Oh, it's that kind of dangerous. I thought it was the, you look at something for some reason, and then all of a sudden, the internet's like, you would like 50 of these. Which also happens. It's like, no, I promise I just wanted to buy a single motherboard. Still work on the Playhouse? No, we finished the Opera House. I gotta go sleep. Set my new spawn point. Currently, we're just reorganizing before the next build, which is not the most exciting, but it's moving my main base over here to where all the builds are. Oh, look, there's a rainbow. So that it's easier to build. You have do not track turned up to 11. Sometimes that can get ads and things that are also really weird. Like, I saw someone, they were like, I wonder what it's like to make a Twitter account with a brand new email with nothing tied to it. And they did that, and they're like, wow, this is really weird stuff I'm being served. The real fun will be moving orange. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to attempt that today. Name tag, name tag, name tag, name tag. I don't have any name tags. I'm just gonna have to sit here and fish for some name tags, I think. Actually, no, I want to leave this bed here. Because it's nice if I'm working in the mines to have a bed to come over to. And this ender chest is going to stay here. Yeah, I did some end busting in order to get said content for chests. So I actually walked out with another Elytra, and I found some really nice pickaxes. Like this one, Efficiency 5, Unbreaking 3 Mending. It's like this, but with better efficiency. So I have to get some netherite to upgrade this. That will be the future pickaxe. Stuff and miscellany. Okay, so miscellany. Tool stuff. Metal. End and nether. Wood. Turns out there's a lot of assumptions on people who don't want their data tracked, and they're not about keeping your data controlled. Yeah, I imagine you don't get many adverts to ExpressVPN or NordVPN or any of those. You also had caffeine today, much caffeine, and I'm working on my laptop, so every line is tiny and blurry. 2 cups of coffee and a double espresso. That's a lot of caffeine. Hope you're okay. Don't forget to breathe. You are lit. Let's go. Copying and pasting at hyperspeed. Copying and pasting so fast, the paper is burning. No, actually, I don't care about clocks. I will, however, put in a compass into the chest here in case I ever get lost and like, where am I? Plop that in there, plop that in there. Okay, only 2 more chests and then we are done and we can start planning out something. And I am leaning towards the idea of kind of a planetarium orrery. And I'm thinking of using the amethyst blocks because this time I'm not going to make the mistake of building exclusively with hard-to-get materials. Wait. Actually, amethyst is a pretty abundant block and easy to get. So I'm thinking brick, like the brick block, for the main walls, which is going to need more clay. That's going to be the hard part. But using that and then using the amethyst as kind of like an inlay in the ceiling and accents in the floor. And then having a central pillar with an orb on it. A small, not a huge one, but an orb of the sun. And then kind of different, build the orrery out from there. And orrery, for those who are like, what is this word that Father Evan keeps using? It's that thing where it's like the stand with all the planets on it. Kind of like a mechanical miniature of a solar system. Maybe there'd be space for using endstone too. Maybe endstone could be the main floor with amethyst accents. You hear a growl? Yeah, there's another cave nearby. But this is tools. This is miscellaneous. That's glass. Server can go in the tool bay. Nope, I need that diamond chest plate. I'll put that one special over there, because that's the really good one. And this works well. If we want to do a planetarium, I guess I'd want to build it on like a hill, and we're just underneath a hill with the new base. So we could build on top of there. So I'm definitely thinking the planetarium will be a circular footprint. So what I'm kind of thinking is main, or like the orrery will basically be in a drum, and then there'll be an upper level with a dome, because why not? Everything else here has domes. And that could be like the observatory. Not bad that we got it down to just 2 shulker boxes in the end. Okay, so anything wood related. Is that all that's wood related? I guess that is. That goes in there. Goes in the tool bin. I have so much flint and I have nothing to do with it. Now this does mean that the wheat farm and the cow farm and chicken farm are going to be pretty removed, but that's okay. We'll just visit them when we have to. So, feather arrow, sword, piston. Okay. Is there there's something metal in here? Ah, yes. Gold nuggets. I should also install a garbage disposal in here. AKA find some lava. So I do not need this many wheat seeds. Okay, there we go. We have moved our bases. Mel has claimed to meet Mass. There he is. He's white. He's gray. He's black. He's greenish black. He's brown. Brown's not a liturgical color, Meep. What are you doing? Nor is gray. Well, you can get away with gray in certain instances because silver is allowed as a form of white. Boom, we have relocated bases and we have a much better storage system. It still needs work, but it's better. Good to see you, Mel. Hope you're doing well. Now get orange. I'll get orange off camera. Anyway, I was thinking this hill would be good. Hey, look, there's another kitty. Kitty, kitty. Nope, kitty got scared. You have wandered far from your village, because the cat came from a village that's down there. Hehehe, illegal lux. But yeah, I'm kind of thinking, what if we flattened out the top of this hill and maybe to this level and built the observatory here. We miss you too, Mel. But we're glad you're doing well. Glad you're gainfully employed. This is a nice place, says Father Evan. Let me flatten away. It is a nice place, but I need a... How am I supposed to make a building without a flat foundation? We're making a lovely flat place upon which to build our place. So I had to pick up your baptismal record. Hey, let's go. You should write down the date that you were baptized on your calendar so you can celebrate it. Oh, your mom had all three of you baptized at the same time. There you go. That'll make it easy to remember. Actually, one of my brother priests, he keeps a copy of his framed on his desk. And he knows the date and celebrates it every year. What? It is night. Also, we'll take a clock. And where are all my frames? I know I had some. I thought I had some item frames lying around. I have paintings. Did I get everything out of... I thought I got everything out of here. I did. Okay. Maybe I didn't have frames. Now then, back to demolishing the hill. I don't know the exact date of your baptism off the top of your head. Protestant Church did it a lot of Catholics do, and bumped Epiphany to close to Sunday, and that's when I was baptized. Oh, that's awesome. It's a good day to be baptized. And then you can, even if it's not the exact date, every Epiphany you can celebrate. Teaching time. Hey, you take care, Bear Fox. Good to see ya. You go teach them about the things, or if you're the one being taught, learn the things. See, I'm not just destroying the land, I'm also building it up. Yeah, who needs an exact date when you have a movable feast to celebrate on? I know the date of my first profession, my final profession, my diaconate, and priestly ordinations. I do have to stop and think about my final and diaconate though sometimes, which is sad because it was August 31st and September 1st. Literally the end of one month and the beginning of the other, and I still sometimes have to stop and think about it. Okay, we'll finish filling this in, and then we will determine what size we want this place to be. If we're gonna make an orrery and do any level of decent representation, it's got to be pretty sizable. So I might have to knock down some of this hill. But let's see what kind of space we're working with as it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. We could do 30. Although I probably want to do 31. Just so that it's odd numbered, so that I can build the central kind of pillar of the mechanism as one block rather than trying to do more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Great. So we counted that correctly. So the center of that would be at the 16th block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then we'll go out 15 and 15, and we'll have our 4 edges. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we're back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, is that going to be big enough? I don't think that's going to quite be big enough, so I think, what if we just moved it out by 2 each direction? So now it should be 35. That feels a bit better. And by a bit, I mean quite a bit. Take down the immediate hill. But the nice thing is that if this is going to be a curved building, then that means, you know, it'll curve out this way, so we can leave the hill. That way it's kind of nestled in it. Which means we'll probably want to build out this side of the hill just a little bit more. I'm gonna start. So I think I might build like a single layer as a foundation, as if it needs one. But with this cobbled deep slate, because I think that would provide a nice contrast to the brick, and then would also give us kind of like one layer up that you have to go through stairs in order to get into the building. I'll also take the blocks of amethyst and put them on top of the pillars of dirt so that we have inspirational material. And I'm thinking what I might try to do in this. So there's going to be two levels. There's going to be like the planetarium with the orrery, and then there's going to be the upper level with the telescope and the observatory. What I'm thinking for the roof of the lower area would be a shallow dome. So not like a large dome like this, you know, like this, but a shallow dome, just like a slight archway upward, and then have like a hollow space. So it has a flat floor for the observatory above, because I think that would look really pretty with the amethyst. So let me pull up my circle chart. I was trying to position this, and Windows did that thing where if you're dragging around a single window too much, it minimizes everything else. Thanks for trying to be helpful, Windows. Okay, so this looks like it's 7 across. So if we start here, so 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it looks like it's 1, 2. Three, and then 1, 2. Then it's, ooh, that's a lot of ones. Hold on, I gotta count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. That doesn't line up. Why does that not line up? Oh, because that's supposed to be 4. That's why. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, look at that. It lines up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's actually a pretty easy circle once you get the rhythm down. Some circles get very complicated and weird. So I think this will also be a bigger dome than the Opera House, which I think is kind of cool and funny. But it is still smaller than the church. The Basilica. So, which I think is also fitting. Move! Or no pigs in astrophysics. Actually, I have a friend who's a astrophysics researcher. Has her PhD in everything. In binary stars. Having a pig on your dome isn't weird. Well, it's not on the dome. It's more in. Feeling sexy. Oh, you kids, you're always wanting the Saxon violins. Good to see you, TC. Hope you're doing well. So I'm thinking for the main part of the floor, we are going to have some amethyst as decoration, like some individual spots. But what should we do for the main floor? Maybe, I don't think tuff's the right thing to make out of a floor. Got calcite. I was thinking maybe polished diorite. It's either polished diorite or polished andesite. Could do a checker pattern. We just started, well, today we moved all our storage over to this new area, and all of our items and whatnot, so that was fun. And now we're working on a planetarium. So that's what I was working on up here. This is the main foundation of it. Except our pet. We will move Orange, but for now he's going to stay where he is because he's safe. Our precious boy will move to the new base. Anyway, so I'm trying to figure out the flooring, because so we have this is like a foundation on the outside. We'll have the floor, and then we'll have brick, and then the ceiling will be amethyst in a slight dome, and then there's going to be a second level with an observatory. And I'm thinking kind of similar to what we had here in the Opera House for the kind of the catwalk, using a similar building idea for the stairs up to there. So yeah, I don't want to do polished diorite would look good, but the problem is I literally just used it here. Maybe, ooh, actually I just had an idea. What if like the footprint, do you want light or dark? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about right now, but I'm wondering, what if we did, I can make a furnace for that. I literally did not know that. What if we made, cobbled, or, polished deep slate, the floor? Because then it would be kind of dark, which would contrast, because we'd have kind of like bright yellow for the sun and bright colors for the planets. With the... I'm not sure what you mean. Yes, with the amethyst accents. So... you know, what if this was our floor? It may not exactly be this. I'll probably come up with some form of a pattern. Because maybe... you know, it could be something like this, or I was actually thinking, what if we... what if we made little starbursts? You know, what if this was our pattern? I'm actually kind of really liking this pattern. What is green and red? I could make concrete. I could make redstone blocks. Redstone blocks might look interesting. I could dye wool. Cactus is green. Got a lurk. Hey. Thank you for the lurk, TC. Good to see you. Oh, the stone in the wall. That's just a copper. That's just copper ore. Ooh, I don't like how redstone blocks look in this texture pack. Because video settings, shaders. If I turn off the shaders, see, I like redstone in the original shaders because there's like a nice gradient. Also, the Opera House actually still works nicely in the original. Like, you don't get the fancy lighting effect, but it looks more hospital. Yeah, I like the idea, though, of the corners being something different. So what's a complementary color of purple? Yellow? But I kind of like this idea. It's because it's like the black of space, and then you kind of have a star twinkling. I wonder. Yeah, yellow's the opposite. This one's the complementary. No, I think I like the plus sign more. But I like the idea of the representation, that it's like a star. Dark blue? Yeah. Okay. Well, we could do that pretty easily because we have a lot of lapis lazuli. So if I grab some, we have more. Yeah, we have lots of lapis lazuli for now. And I'll definitely want some big windows on this lower level so that it stays bright. I'm gonna try something. At the risk of making this floor too busy, oh, I can close up my circle chart. I'd probably replace this with a different red block, but just for now, for the color. I'm not loving it. I like the idea because then you can be like, oh, it's red shift and blue shift. But I don't think it quite gets there. Well, let's kind of tile this out and see maybe how it looks. Same thing. This is where some variation would help. Because I don't mind that this is kind of just randomly tiled at this point. Because A, either we can move it and fix it so that it's lined up with like an entrance or something, or just have it be seemingly random so that it's not nice and smooth and in relation to everything else. What if we replaced the center of this with a white block? I'm thinking quartz because it matches kind of the shininess of everything. Don't really love that. Because I'd like the quartz to have some texture. What if we did these quartz blocks? Or the blue. We could try the blue in the center, but I think I have an idea where... Work with me, quartz. So if I place it there, it's facing that way. If I place it there, it's facing that way. Is it just always going to be facing that way? Yeah, apparently it's just always facing that way. So if we did quartz in these sections, we did the lapis lazuli here. If we had the lapis lazuli with the quartz. Or not with the quartz, with the amethyst instead of the quartz. I could get behind that. What do you think, chat? And I'm thinking what I'll ultimately do is it won't just be lined up, it will also be shifted each row. Because I like the amethyst, because it does look like stars twinkling. What if... The white seems so in your face. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What if that was our pattern? I think that's what I've been looking for. Over here. So we'll come over here. We'll get some more cobbled deep slate to work on this. Let's just work with that for now. So instead, we're going to want that there. Wait, no. Oh, I wanted that there. Never mind. My bad. This needs to go down one. Then we'll have... So we'll have that as our tessellated pattern. Although something is off. I see what's off. Could offset the crosses with diamonds. The problem is they really are diamonds already. But if I do it the proper spacing, that looks a lot nicer. Although, given that... See, there's this gap between them vertically that's not there horizontally, but if I break that if I remove that, then it kind of messes with the whole thing. What if that was all one whiter? The other option would be to move this whole system over so that it doesn't share. In 9 grid 1379248. Okay, so you're saying make it a square, essentially, because in my mind, I already have the diamond. Okay, well, I don't have enough. So this is what happens if we space everything out by 1. Which I think what I'd have to do is actually move that whole top one over by 1. Because right now it looks kind of awkward, so... I like the sound Amethyst makes. It's very musical. So right now that's... See, one of the things I don't know about changing the direction is what that will do is it will connect this to these outer pieces. See, I don't like that alternating as much. I think I like the pattern we've got. Effectively spacing everything out by 1. Like, I guess I could have moved. Still, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I could have moved the outer ones, I guess, but then it's one big diamond, whereas right now I kind of like that it's like, there's a large star and then there's other small ones around it. Don't know why I thought I could land. I'm in spectator mode. So if we imagine, we must imagine Sisyphus happy. If we imagine those spots as having amethyst in them, I think this is a good pattern. I think we found it, chat. And I think it's one of those, keep it simpler. You know, we don't need to overdevelop it. With lots of blocks. We just need the two-tone of the bricks. But I do like having spaced everything out by one. I think that it makes it feel less cluttered. And then we'll have the pattern just kind of disappear off into the flooring area. Cool. Cool. That sets up a nice pattern for us to follow. So for the remaining time, one central box and all the 8 rays. Yeah, but I think I prefer this because the idea is that if it's going to be an orrery, I wouldn't want a different star with its rays going everywhere. I want it to feel more like the night sky. Maybe on the dome? Maybe. I don't know. Don't know what material the dome's going to be yet. That's not where I want to go. There is a fairly large cavern in here that we've been to before that opens up into... Well, there's a lot in it, actually. There's a mine shaft in it. There is also an amethyst geode. So I want to get some more amethyst for today. Oh! Praise the Lord, that is wonderful news. I'm glad to hear that your sister-in-law's been discharged from the hospital. Hope the at-home recovery and rehab work continues to go well. Since we have relocated the base, I should also set up a beacon. It'd require me to get nether skulls, though. Ugh. Okay, that should be a decent amount for now. 2 full stacks. It's not going to be quite enough, but there's still all of that geode. Don't forget, chat, tonight there is a bonus stream at 7 p.m. Playing Legend of Zelda 4 Swords with Breedy Bard, Liminality Carb, and Broseph Lacask. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern. You mean there are other time zones? Sir, you are from my time zone. I know, but I have acclimated. Best time zone. The snobbery commences. Yes, a fresh shot at firsts. Gonna put some lights down, keep some I'd really hate for a creeper to spawn and explode on me. Is there a prediction open from yesterday? There might be. I may have forgotten to close it. I was rewatching some of the footage, and I still have to ask, how does a tranquilizer dart make a motorcycle explode? Oh, hello, Enderman. Ah, why is there a tiny zombie? I thought I was beyond his spawn range. Go away! Go away, you tiny nerd. I know I have lots of torches somewhere. Let me take a look at that prediction real quick. Oh, no. Looks like it's closed. I don't know. There was a skeleton here. I was thinking to myself, I don't remember doing this much. See, there's a creeper. That's why we have to enlighten our areas. But I was thinking, like, I didn't do this that much for the previous build. Why was that? It's like, oh yeah, because the previous build was over water. That should be pretty good, I think. All the candles. We can check this. Time. Set night. Okay, so there's still a few dark spots, but they're not nearly as bad. Ooh, check out the amethysts at night in the light. That's really pretty. But that'll help keep us and our builds safer. Look at all the candles. They look like little candle lights we have out there. I think this floor is looking pretty cool. I'm gonna leave this dirt pile here. I'll probably replace that, but keep the dirt here. Just keep track of the center. This is where we'll want the pillar for the orrery. Because once we're done building the floor, that's really what we're gonna build. Because I don't want to build the walls too much. Just so that I can move around a bit more freely. But unfortunately, the walls are a bit more singularly shaped. Unlike the last build. There's like, I don't know where things are going. You know, we're not compartmentalizing this into multiple rooms and spaces and pathways. Except for the upper level and the lower level, but that's just 2 levels. That's horizontal. or vertical. That's just vertical. My brain cannot brain tonight. Oh, it's a good thing we're playing Force Swords and not some sort of, hard game. Anyway, I like the brick. I think that'll be a nice contrast, the red against the purple and the black. So I think that's a good place to call it for the day. We were really productive today. We got a lot done. Woo! So thanks so much for tuning in to Let Us Play. I've been your host, Father Evan. Like I said, join us again later tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, for Legend of Zelda Four Swords. I will say swords every time because it's funny to me. That'll be with Breedy Bard, Liminality Carb, and Merciful Casks. That'll be fun. Tomorrow, the end of Wind Waker, Link's Awakening. No idea what's after that for Throwback Thursday. And then next Monday, Birth by Sleep. Tuesday, Spirit and the Mouse, and Midweek Minecraft, and another bonus stream of more Four Swords. So thank you so much to everyone who's liked, followed, subscribed, given bits, all that good jazz. Thank you for checking out the YouTube. Thank you for checking out the Discord. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully see you later today. Let's see whose live that we can raid into. I'm gonna send you someone we haven't rated in a while, but I think is a cool dude. Jate Live. He has moved into his own house. He bought like a 19th century fixer-upper, and he live streamed him fixing it up. It was a real hard labor job. It looks like a sweet space now. He's playing Blueprints, which is a game I want to check out. It's like Myst, if Myst was a roguelike, so point and click roguelike. But raid call will be Father Raid. Put it in chat for you to copy and paste if you want. But yeah, go check out Jake. Go give him some love. He's a cool dude. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, and God bless.